Virtual RC Racing, The Inside Story. Episode 13, Virtual RC V1 till V3 in Retrospect. My name is Peter Barefoots. This inside story is now about halfway. Time to look back. Where we came from and what we had achieved in these 10 years. With the release of V3.5 in 2005 came an end to the first chapter of this incredible adventure. Without any idea or knowledge of computer games, let alone racing sims, we had created a very respectable RC racing sim and exceeded everyone's expectations. Maybe except for those who saw Virtual Racing Industries, or VRI, as a serious and established game developing studio, of which there were so many in these early days of computer game development. On the contrary, it was by sheer coincidence that I got involved in this adventure. In the years 1979 till 2005, I was fully engaged with running Serpent. VRC was just something on the side for me. Let's see what it brings. But I must admit, it was a fascinating journey which coincided with another exciting technological development, the digitalization of about anything, and of course the Internet. We were the first RC company to use Pro Engineer to design our cars and components in full 3D. And mid-90s I also jumped on the promises the Internet had in store for us. Team Serpent Network, or TSN, and later MyTSN, were developed in this period and opened up completely new ways of communicating with our customers and racers from around the world. Communication has always been one of my key interests and marketing strategies. VRC development went hand in hand with the digital and Internet revolution. After 2003, I got more and more involved in VRC, seeing the potential it had to engage a whole new market in RC racing through computer gaming. I sincerely believed that VRC held a great promise to draw new hobbyists into RC racing. After all, this was the whole idea behind the development of the VRC-1 game port adapter back in 1995. And with partners like Kyosho and Horizon Hobbies, I saw great potential to break into new markets, even non-RC related markets. I felt computer gaming was the biggest threat to RC racing, so better try to connect. Now on to probably the most consequential decision in my life, in 2005, retiring from Serpent and handing it over to Michael Salvin and Ronald Barr so I could fully focus on VRC. Serpent had been my life since 1979. I had invested all my time and money to build up a successful RC racing car manufacturing company. And then suddenly give it up? I truly believe that there was another exciting and challenging future ahead of me with VRC. At that time, I also saw the RC racing market change, especially manufacturing. More and more engineering and manufacturing jobs were shifted to Taiwan and later China. It was an unstoppable development that I could see coming from the mid-90s onwards. I spent a great deal of my last 5 years with Serpent exploring new sources for manufacturing in order to stay competitive. I felt it was an inevitable development for Serpent. You can probably also imagine what sort of family life I had lived since 1972, when I started racing RC model cars. Every weekend and all my holidays were spent on RC racing. I was also heavily involved in EFRA and IFMAR, trying to get this hobby organized. Fortunately, I had a very supportive wife, and she has certainly also enjoyed many great moments together with me, winning Euro and World titles with Serpent, but it was not always easy, often stressful to say the least, not hard to imagine. Retiring from Serpent in July 2005 came as a relief to me in this respect, although I really missed the racing and all my colleagues and friends in the RC racing world. In 2005, my intense and passionate Serpent business life came to an end, but it was replaced with a new full-time involvement, Virtual Racing Industries, developing VRC into a state-of-the-art RC racing game. This was going to be my new life, very challenging, but at least I had the weekends off. I was 56 at the time, and could finally spend more time with my family, on my golf game, biking, and holidays with my wife Renee. As I was now fully committed to further develop VRC, the very first question I had to answer was, what future do we have with what we had developed thus far, VRC version 3.5? I had long discussions with my son Tim, who had just graduated from university in computer science, and also with Tony, Todd, Marek, and Lothar, to get an idea of where we stood technology-wise. Hardware, gaming technology, the internet, everything was developing at an ever-accelerating pace, it seemed. I had asked myself, is our VRC v3.5 the platform to build our future on? The simple and honest answer was no. VRC v3.5 could probably be sustained for a few more years, but eventually the platform would become out of date technology-wise. While we were developing VRC, the whole gaming development environment had already advanced far beyond our version 3.5 platform. And to build a new platform, you better start immediately, as it would at least take 2 years, I thought. Well, version 4, later called VRC-Pro, development started in 2006, and VRC-Pro was finally released at the end of 2011. Not 2, but 6 years. Ouch. Some retrospection before going to the next phase, the development of the new VRC platform. I feel the urge to reflect on what we had achieved thus far, and what sort of business potential there was for my company, Virtual Racing Industries. If you have watched all the episodes of this inside story, you now know that VRC was kind of a fortunate accident that happened more or less unintentionally. We started out with developing the VRC1 game port adapter back in 1995, with the idea to connect RC with the fast-developing gaming scene. Through the patenting process for that device, I met Lothar Pantel, who had developed his own game port adapter with a very simple 2.5D RC game, who happened to live just 6 kilometers away from where my youth friend Hans Bales lives, in the middle of Germany. We joined forces in 1997 and sold his RC Car Trainer game together with our VRC1 game port adapter. We then started to take his RC game to a next level. Lothar developed VRC V1 and later V2. I got more and more intrigued by the potential of a good RC racing sim as a means of promoting the RC hobby and how it could benefit my Serpent business. Next, we started talking about more realistic car behavior, and through Lothar's father I was introduced to Todd Wasson from the US, a young guy from St. Paul who was looking to get involved in developing vehicle dynamic physics for racing games. And through Todd I was introduced to Tony West from the UK, who was developing a racing car sim title called Racing Legends. With Todd and Tony I felt I had hit the jackpot. Todd for developing our physics model from scratch, and Tony to do all the 3D modeling and texturing and graphics design for the game itself, and also the VRC portal. Just what I was looking and hoping for, and much more, to be ready for the next step. And finally, my Slovak team of internet developers who had worked for Serpent since 1994 creating our unique community portals, the Team Serpent Network, and in 2001 MyTSN. After long conversations and knowing what sort of skills they had developed since 1994, I was confident that the Slovak team could do the job. Within less than a year I had brought together a complete game development team, based on sheer coincidence. But what a big gamble it was! Was Virtual Racing Industries now suddenly a professional game development studio? Well, not really. It was just a group of talented and skillful individuals who realized my dreams, each specialist in their own field. And to be very honest, I still knew nothing about game development, but I was learning fast. By trade, I was a mechanical engineer who manufactured Serpent model racing cars since 1979, mainly working on developing RC cars and managing my company and our worldwide racing team. Did I have a solid marketing and distribution plan for VRC? Did I have third-party funding to enable continued development and a massive marketing campaign? The honest answer is no. We were just trying to start a new adventure in gaming. I often feel that many of you have a completely different perception of Virtual Racing Industries. Many still think that VRI is a professional game studio, probably somewhat misled by looking at what we have achieved with VRC-Pro, which after all is quite impressive. Well, we were not and have never been and never will be a real game development studio, however much I would have liked that to happen. I'll close off this first half of Virtual RC Racing, the inside story. Starting from zero in 1995 and resulting in VRC version 3.5 in 2005, I hope you now have a better understanding of where we came from and how this all came about, and about all the incredible coincidences that made this exceptional project happen. It's now time to let you in on the second half of this compelling story, the development of VRC-Pro. That's next. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube playlist so you don't miss an episode. Thank you for watching.